I request Head, DME Law School, Professor Dr. Rajinder Kaur Randhawa, ma'am, to come welcome Professor Dr. Rashmi Nagpal, ma'am, with the planter and a token of her appreciation. This organ this conference, organized by DME Law School in collaboration with the Ministry of Ayush, the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, through its International Decade of Indigenous Language Chapter, the Global Interfaith University USA, and the University of Law London. On the national front, this conference has collaborated with Dr. B.R. Ambedkar National Law University, Sonipat, Rajiv Gandhi National University of Law, Punjab, National Law University and Judicial Academy, Assam, Dharmashastra National Law University, Jabalpur, and National Law University, Tripura. We also have the support of Taiwan Asia Exchange Foundation, the Growth Spare Kenya, and Global Right Alliance, London, Club Huda Thieves, Senegal, and ISEA Foundation, South Korea. The academic and outreach support is provided by Loctopus as a media partner, Manu Patra and our launch partner, Knowledge Zest as our outreach partner, Aleph Oversee, and Epic Group as our event partner and title sponsor. We are pleased to inform you that we have received more than over 150 papers and over 300 participants are joining either on campus or virtually, including international presenters joining us from Nepal, Russia, and South Korea. We also have professors from IIT Roorkee and BHU and principal from CSIR joining us panelists for this event. No institution can flourish without visionary leaders, and we are privileged to have with us our Director General, Honorable Mr. Justice Bhava Singh Sir. His Lordship joined the UP Judicial Service in 1970 and was promoted to Higher Judicial Services in 1979. He served as presiding officer of the Special CBI Court Dehradun from 1983 to 1987 and later as a registrar at the Allahabad High Court in 1992. From 1998 to 1999, he held the esteemed office of Registrar General of the Supreme Court of India. In 1919, his lordship was elevated as a permanent judge of the Allahabad High Court, where he served with distinction until 2007. Thereafter, he served as the president of the UP State Consumer Commission and later as chairman of the Judicial Training and Research Institute, UP, from 2012 to 2014. Since 2014, his lordship has been serving DME as professor and director general, continuing to inspire and shape the future legal professionals. I request his lordship to welcome our guest. Please, sir.
Honorable Chief Guest, Shri R.K. Singh, former Union Cabinet Minister, Honorable Dr. V.K. Ahuja, Director of ILI, Honorable Mr. Devendra Singh, Vice Chancellor of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar NLU Sonipat, Dr. Rashmi Nagpal, our former Director, and now Associate Dean, School of Law, Chandigarh, Dr. Komal Ma'am, Director of this institution, Dr. Randhawa, HOD, Coordinator, Dr. Bedpriya, our esteemed faculty members, and distinguished guests, dear students and participants, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you all to this conference to last for 2 days, and the topic given for the discussion and debate is intersection of traditional knowledge system and the future in India. Friends, India is one of the oldest living civilizations of the world. Our land has not merely preserved history, it has preserved wisdom. For thousands of years, Indian society has developed systems of knowledge rooted in observation, experience, spirituality, ethics, and harmony with nature. These traditional knowledge systems include our ancient sciences, agriculture practices, architecture, medicine, philosophy, arts, governance traditions, ecological wisdom, and community based way of life. In the modern age of artificial intelligence, biotechnology, climate change, and digital transformation, an important question confronts us. Can ancient wisdom and modern innovation work together? Yes. It is that India's future may depend upon this very partnership of the two. Traditional knowledge systems are not relics of the past, they are living reservoirs of human experience. Long before sustainability became a global slogan, Indian civilization taught the world the principle of balance between human beings and nature. Our ancient texts spoke of the earth not as a resource of exploit, but as a mother to respect. The wisdom of Ayurveda emphasized preventive healthcare and holistic well being. Yoga united physical fitness and mental peace and spiritual discipline. Traditional water harvesting systems in Rajasthan, step wells in Gujarat, and community forest practices in tribal regions reflected scientific environmental management long before modern ecological discourse emerged. Friends, we must also recognize an important truth. Tradition cannot survive merely through praise, it survives through relevance, research, renewal. India's future lies not in choosing between tradition and technology, but in integrating both creativity and scientifically. Artificial intelligence can help digitize and preserve ancient manuscripts. Modern scientific research can validate traditional medicinal practices. Satellite technology and indigenous agriculture wisdom together can improve climate resilient farming. The future belongs to societies that innovate without losing their roots. At the same time, we must guard our blind romanticism. Every traditional practice is not automatically scientific or suitable for the present age. Knowledge must always pass through the tests of reason, ethics, and evidence. Our ancient thinkers encouraged questioning, inquisitiveness. The spirit of the Upanishads was dialogue. Nalanda and Takshila flourished because they welcomed intellectual exchange. Therefore, preserving traditional knowledge does not mean rejecting modern science. Preserving, preserving traditional knowledge does not mean rejecting modern science. Rather, it means building a bridge between inherited wisdom and contemporary understanding. India today stands at a historic crossroads. We are emerging as a global power in technology, economy, and innovation. If the 20th century was the age of industrial power, the 21st century may well become the age of knowledge integration. And in that journey, India has a unique role to play before the world. Let us create a future where technology serves humanity, development respects nature, and progress remains guided by values. In the words of ancient Indian vision, A no bhadra kratvo yantu vishvata. Let noble thoughts come to us from all directions. May India continue to draw wisdom from its timeless traditions while courageously shaping the future. Thank you very much. God bless you all.
Thank you, sir. It is my honor to welcome Professor Dr. Rashmi Khurana Nagpal Ma'am, Associate Dean, School of Law, SBKM, NMIMS, Chandigarh. Ma'am was formerly the Additional Director and Dean, School of Law at DME Noida, a double gold medalist in LLB and LLM from Punjab University. Ma'am was awarded the Government of India National Scholarship and recommended for the prestigious British Shiving Scholarship. With 20 plus years of teaching experience across top law universities and as a former principal of Geeta Institute of Law, and she was associated with Army University, Nirma University, and Shobit University, among others. She has served as a program coordinator for CGC, E, Pathshala, and NLU Delhi, and serves on editorial board of leading law journals in India and abroad. I request ma'am to kindly address the audience.
Thank you so much. A very good morning to one and all present in this August gathering. Respected honorable dignitaries, our mentor, guide, and leader, Honorable DG Sir, Justice Bhamar Singh, Shri R.K. Singh, former Union Cabinet Minister, a very distinguished professor of law, and my mentor always, Dr. Huja, my colleague and a close friend coming from my own Punjab University Department of Laws, Dr. Devinder Singh, Director DME, Dr. Komal Vig, Dr. Randhawa, organizers of this conference, Ms. Ved Priya Lahiri, distinguished scholars present here to attend the conference, my dear students and esteemed faculty members. While I was told yesterday late evening that I need to speak on this topic, this was quite late when I got to know. And entire day, since I teach environmental law and media laws, so entire day I was having all through the day environmental law in my mind. The dilemma after hearing from Vedpriya that I need to speak was not what I'd speak on the topic, but what was the confusion was that I was given 8 minutes according to the schedule, and I am in the habit of taking a lecture for 55 to 60 minutes. So that was the dilemma. How do I fit my address into those 8 minutes is quite challenging for any professor, which Professor Huja and Devinderji will agree to me. So somehow I will try to restrain myself in those 8 to 9 minutes only. Now, when we talk about the topic, I find that it's both a privilege and a responsibility to stand before this gathering, a conference that places traditional knowledge at the intersection of law, culture, well-being, sustainability is not merely an academic exercise, but this is, I feel, is a civilizational conversation that is happening, one that India, more than perhaps any other nation, is uniquely positioned to lead. While I was thinking what to speak, I just thought of a few examples which align with our topic. For example, let us begin with law and culture. And we come to, in 2009, India enacted the Right to Education Act, making free and compulsory education a fundamental right for every child, between 6 to 14 years of age. Within a decade, India's primary school enrollment crossed 96%. First generation learners, the children of farmers, weavers, and daily wage workers, walked into the classroom for the first time. Law did not just regulate the behavior here, but it transformed the culture. It told an entire generation that you belong in a classroom. Coming to Forest Act of 2009, one of the most culturally sensitive laws ever passed in independent India. For centuries, the Adivasis communities had lived in the protected India's forests, only to be labeled as encroachers by the pre-colonial era laws. The Forest Rights Act corrected a 200 years of injustice. It recognized that culture is also a form of knowledge. And all those who have lived within that land understand it better than those who are governing it from outside. Today, over 22 lakh land titles have been granted to tribal communities across the country. This means the law is listening to them. On sustainability, it's topic 2. India has a different story altogether, and it shows the story of quite determined ambition. When India launched the National Solar Mission in 2010 with a target of 20 gigawatts by 2022, the experts were skeptical. India exceeded that target by 2022 and today stands at over 85 gigawatts of installed solar capacity, making it the 4th largest solar power nation in the world. More importantly, we achieved this while making solar the cheapest source of electricity in our history. We proved that sustainability and affordability are not opposites. They can perhaps walk together. And then there is Jal Jeevan Mission. I hope the students have heard about what is Jal Jeevan Mission. This is perhaps the largest drinking water program in human history. Launched in 2019, with the goal of providing piped water to every rural household by 2024, it has connected over 14 crore homes to tap water, homes where women once walked kilometers every morning, carrying the weight of water and weight of time. This is sustainability, meeting the well-being at the grassroots level. This is where the law is becoming life. And now, the well-being, an important part of our Indian culture is concentration, focus on well-being. 2018, India launched Ayushman Bharat, the world's largest government-funded health insurance scheme. Over 55 crore citizens, the bottom 40% of India's population, received health coverage up to 5 lakh rupees per year. Families who once sold their land to pay hospital bills could now walk into the empaneled hospitals without fear. Well-being ceased to be the privilege of only the upper class. It has become a right. As DG sir also mentioned about the traditional medicine system, Ayurveda, that also demonstrates the importance of indigenous knowledge. It talks about the balance between mind, body, and nature. Here, the words of Kabir resonate deeply, which says, "Mati kahe kumhar se, tu kya ronde mohe, ek din aisa aayega, main rondungi tohe." This is what the couplet by Kabirji reflects humility before nature and reminds that if humanity disturbs the ecological balance, we all shall be hurt and we all shall suffer. Now, friends, we are a civilization that gave the world the concept of Vasudeva Kutumbakam, which means the word is one family. We wrote about sustainable living in the Earth Shastra. We enshrined dignity in our constitution before many nations had one. We are not starting from scratch. We are already standing on the shoulders of an extraordinary inheritance. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, the chief architect of our constitution, said, "A great man is different from the eminent one, in that he is ready to be the servant of the society." So that is the call of this conference. We must all, let us not be just the eminent scholars, but let us become the great servants of this society. As you leave today, my humble request is carry with you the conviction that in India, change is just not possible. It's already happening. In a solar panel, where is it happening? It is happening in a solar panel on the rooftop in the state of Rajasthan, in a tribal woman holding the title deed to her ancestral land, in a child in a government school writing her first essay, and in a farmer's wife who runs a business and signs her name with pride. The future is not waiting to be built. It's already being built by people like you. Let me close by the inspiring lines that perfectly capture the spirit of the conference. वृक्ष हो भले खड़े, वृक्ष हो भले खड़े, हो घने हो बड़े, एक पत्र छाह भी, मांग मत मांग मत मांग मत, अग्निपथ अग्निपथ अग्निपथ. This was by Ramdhari Singh Dinkar, who inspires us. This couplet inspires us to move forward with courage and saying that we should be careful of our tradition and should wisely follow the traditions and culture of our nation, India. Thank you so much. Best wishes to all the participants and to the organizers. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. It is my distinct honor to introduce Professor Dr. Devendra Singh Sir, the Honorable Vice Chancellor of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar National Law University, Sonipat, a visionary academic leader and a prolific legal scholar. Professor Singh brings over 25 years of rich experience in legal education and administration. Before taking an helm at the NLU, he served with the distinction at Punjab University, Chandigarh, as a professor of law and legal counsel, where he was instrumental in shaping both academic policy and institutionalizing the governance. Professor Singh is a celebrated authority in constitutional law, administrative law, and human rights. He has authorized and edited more than 10 books and over 70 research papers published in reputed national and international journals. An active voice in global academic discourse, he has represented India at prestigious international forums in Rome, Hong Kong, South Africa, and Thailand. He had a spread-headed critical research project funded by the national bodies addressing a vital social issue such as child labor, NRI marriages, and consumer rights. Under his stewardship, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar and National Law University is rapidly emerging as a hub for innovation and excellence in legal scholarship. I invite Sir to address the audience.
Honorable Mr. Justice Bhamar Singh Ji, Honorable Minister R.K. Singh Ji, respected senior colleague Ahuja Sir, Rashmi Madam, Renu Bij Madam, Komal Bij Madam, Randhawa Madam, and respected colleagues, dear students. Speaking on the traditional knowledge means it is a forte of everyone. Everyone can speak on the traditional knowledge because all of us are the carriers of traditional knowledge. We come from the families, we come from the society, and whenever we talk about science, law, medicines, technology, everything, our society has responded to everything, and we are the carriers of everything. But as Bhamat Singh sir has said in the beginning, that the 21st century belongs to knowledge, innovations, and research. We fell short on that. When it came to research, we did not carry forward our own traditions, our own knowledge, and there was no research on this. And suddenly, when we say the 21st century belongs to India, we started claiming ourselves the Vishu Guru and saying that our Upanishads, Vedas, and our traditions are so, and partially proved during the COVID era that yes, Indian system of medicine has responded to this. So therefore, we can become. But nevertheless, when we see to the 75 years history of Constitution, what we have done on research, innovations, what we have given to the world. I see my own subject, when we drafted our own constitution was labeled as a borrowed document. And we teach our students very proudly, this chapter was borrowed from USA, this from Ireland, this from Germany, this from Japan. Because already existing things hasn't borrowed to us. I do not agree to this though. I do not agree to this that our constitution was borrowed one. We have a system of democracy prior to the constitution, and at the same time this year we are celebrating Justice Hansraj Khanna's dissenting opinion, and in his dissenting opinion, Justice Hansraj Khanna very proudly declared that fundamental right is not given to us by the constitution. Fundamental rights are given to us by the Almighty at the time of birth. So constitution need to respect the fundamental rights, and the society, the Indian traditions, they have carried forward this legacy. It is not like this that the constitution says that the Article 21 is suspended during the emergency and the life can be taken. No, he did not agree. So we are also celebrating this. This is the traditional knowledge that democracy is our blood. Democracy is not given to us by the constitution. Therefore, when we come to the traditions, nowadays Sabrimala argument are going in the Supreme Court, and every day what we are catering to ourselves, that social morality has no place in place of constitutional mandate. Where there is a written constitution and the provisions of written constitutions are there, then social morality do not stand anywhere. Sabrimala is a list which is going on, but before that, we have decided many issues. We have decided the issue of dowry. This is our tradition. That dowry is part and parcel of our culture. 1962, law is passed. Dowry is a crime. But at the same time, we can't live without our culture. We can't live without our tradition. It may be crime. We say that the traditional gifts and presents continues to be, and it is a part of the culture. But it is a conflict with the modern constitution, with the modern concept of rights, maybe Western, which says the individual concept, but it continues. We are talking about the change. I still believe that the Hindu country is a predominantly Hindu country. So Hindus are always open for change. 1955, succession right was given to daughter from father's share. But in 50 years, we realized that this is not enough. This is not enough. Daughter needs to be equivalent to son. After 50 years, it is done, and daughter is equivalent with the son. But as a student of law who are going these new provisions only, not the older one, we are still unable to do away with the capacity. If son and daughter both are there, both are capacities, because the capacity was kept as a coveted club of males. But 2005 says the daughter is Kapasner. But still Kapasner survives. We are unable to do away with because we say tradition is good. Tradition is guiding force for us. It may be conflicting with the modern concept. It continues as such. So we accept the change, but at the same times, we see that our tradition was there. Therefore, what needs to be deliberation? What needs to be deliberated? We are deliberating this Nari Shakti Bandhan Vidhayak. We know that without women, we cannot go ahead as far as the societal progress is concerned. What we are doing? See the past. We took 40 years in the constitution to bring in the Panchayati Raj system. I think before that, in the 80s, it fell down in the parliament. It could not be passed. And in 1993, we could bring this Panchayati Raj. And in Panchayati Raj, we have made the provisions for all sections of the society, that all sections of the society need to be represented as far as the governance in the smallest unit or the local unit or the grassroots level democracy is concerned. This grassroots level democracy was the source of power at the time of freedom struggle. And if we see the writings of Gandhi and writings of Ambedkar, they were at the crossroads. Mahatma Gandhi was of the opinion that give all the powers to the panchayats. Panchayat will decide their own future because the democracy lies in panchayats. It's a Panch Parmeshwar system. They will decide everything. But at the same time, the writings of the Ambedkar were opposing the panchayats. Why they were opposing the panchayat? Because the Ambedkar was of the view that these panchayats are actually the source of feudalism. The moment we say panchayat, panchayat means, sarpanch means the landlord. The sarpanch means the who is the wealthiest, the strongest, the lord of that area. That would be sarpanch. Beyond that, we can't think. Therefore, Panchayati Raj system got the place in the directive principle of the state policy, not in the other part of the constitution where it be mandated. So it took 40 years, be implemented, and now we see we are ready for change, and now we are deliberating that why it should not be raised to 33%. And only good thing in the discussion in the parliament on 16th and 17th April was that everybody was saying that raise it to 50. Government also agreed that let us raise this to 50. So let us give share to the female in the power. They can decide whatever is in their favor, or it can be there. So why these issues are there? This is your common issues. I have not raised many issues, but the question is when we will start research and innovation. So these things are institutionalized. We cry once things are over. Agriculture is taken over by the WTO, by the machinery, by the technology. Anyway, the animal husbandry is done away from the agriculture now. Earlier, it was thought that the animal husbandry is part of the agriculture. Now we say pesticide is a bad thing. Other things are bad thing. But at the same time, we have lost it. Now the family is the smallest unit which we are trying to save. That family should be saved, but not in the form it was where it was raised. The question is culture, because culture, human rights in the modern time, or the rights of everyone in the family, it's a conflict basically. So if we want to save the family, that the new concept nowadays being started, no doubt it's a political benefits and political gains there, that give money to the female. That is the present system is going on, that give money or transfer money in the accounts of the female members of the family, and somehow it will happen. If we see this from this angle, that we are empowering the women, we can't say that we are compelling them to be at home because it's a tradition that the female had to be home. We can't agree to that, but they need power. If it is their choice to go out of home, then at home there should be surety that we are getting 5,000 or 10,000, and still we have an option. We can go out if we can better, or we have a profession, or we have a better employment. Many things need to be done. but it need to be done at the institutional level. We need to improve first the system of governance, and then this gender count, or the other count. I am serving at the land of Khaps, where panchayats has a secondary role. I speak there like that also, but with the exception and with the apology to each and everyone. In Haryana and Western Uttar Pradesh, where this Sonipat is being located, every caste has their khap. Every caste have their khap. And when I say that this education city, where this all universities, Ashoka, Jindal, and my university is being built up, there's a land of 9 panchayats. I came and I gave the idea that let us adopt this 9 panchayats, and within 5-6 years we will make this all these 9 panchayats this litigation free. We'll serve this, because we have the best of the mind in the NLU. Student wants to go to the villages, but when we contacted the panchayat, the best day to go to the panchayat, as I understand, it's a Jan Sabha, which happens in 3 months. Once in the 3 months, we need to go there. But when we started taking appointment of the sarpanches, we met very happily. But when we said that we will come on the date of Jan Sabha, then their eyes were dropped. Meaning thereby, Khab is more important, Jan Sabha is less important. So therefore, modernity is a reality, constitution is a reality, constitutional mandate is a reality. Social morality is there, but we have to change, and we say that the people are ready for change. People has shown on the ground that we are ready for the change. We need to institutionalize the system, and for us, the result or the outcome of the conferences like this, it should be lesson to all of us. We should establish a library on Indian knowledge system. Otherwise, student will hear something and will forget next day. Unless and until it becomes a part of their seminars, their writings, their dissertations, and their presentations. They can refer Chanakya, they can refer Vedas, they can refer Upanishads, they can refer Ramayana, Mahabharata. But unless and until we present to the students a logical generation who believes in logic and reason only, unless and until things are presented in the institutional way, in a logical way, this generation is not going to believe it. Things start from us. We have started at our own level that this section of the library is an Indian knowledge system, and started designating a faculty member that yes, he would be in charge of this, and student can refer to him if any book is there or they want something that is like this. So this can be the beginning for towards the vision 2047 Viksit Bharat. So we can contribute in that way. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you, sir. We are honored to welcome Professor V.K. Ahuja, sir, an eminent academician and distinguished legal scholar presently serving as Honorable Director of the Indian Law Institute. He holds PhD and LLM degree from the University of Delhi and an MPhil from JNU, along with the certifications in law teaching and legal research skills from Cardiff University, United Kingdom. Before joining the Indian Institute, Professor Ahuja sir served as a Vice Chancellor of the National Law University and Judicial Academy, Assam, from 2021 to 2024. He is also Senior Professor at the Faculty of Law, University of Delhi, and has previously served as a Joint Director of the Delhi School of Public Policy and Governance and Professor in charge of Law Center, Faculty of Law, University of Delhi. With over 30 years of teaching and research experience, he has made immense contributions to legal academic. Professor Ahuja sir is noted expert in the intellectual property rights, international law. He continues to contribute significantly to legal education, research, and institutional development across the India. I request sir to address the audience.
Thank you very much for your nice introduction. Respected Shri R.K. Singh Ji, former Union Minister, Justice Bhavar Singh Ji, former Judge, Allahabad High Court, a very nice human being. Brother Professor Devinder Singh, sisters Rashmi and Komal, and uh, Ved Priya, whom I had been troubling for quite some days, and I forgot the name, ma'am. Please forgive me. Randhava, ma'am, and all respected teachers, participants, and dear students. A very good morning. I would like to congratulate DME for organizing this international conference on such an important topic. I was just listening to Professor Devendra. He was talking about the relevance and the requirement of discussion on this particular topic. So when I got a call from Professor Komal, then I thought that you know I think I should look into the legal and justice framework from the lenses of Shrimad Bhagavad Gita. So I'll be speaking for a couple of minutes, maybe that I may slightly, overstep my slot because I'm not as disciplined as my previous speakers were. So I'm slightly indisciplined. Maybe, I may take slightly more time. So friends, when I was Vice Chancellor in NLU Assam, so I had a lot of time over there. So I was staying near the university. So the sunset happens at 4 p.m. there. And then you had a lot of time, after reaching home by 5:30 or so. And since I was alone there, so I started reading Bhagavad Gita. I had interest in that. And there, of course, I wrote a book on Krishna and mediation. You must be knowing that while Krishna mediated between Kauravas and Pandavas, the consequences, I'll come to that later on. Well, friends, when I link the underlying philosophy of verses of Bhagavad Gita with the Indian legal system as well as the justice system, I find a lot of commonalities between the two in one sense. Gita guides us how to live a righteous life, a life in accordance with dharma, whereas law regulates the relationship of people. So both of the Gita and the law are talking about the one thing, that is how to live in a responsible manner. When you live life in a dharmic way, where you are performing your dharma, then obviously you are already taking care of the rights of other persons. And the similar thing happens, when the law regulates, your actions and reactions. Friends, it is wrong to say that Gita is a religious text of Hindus. That is absolutely wrong. Gita is not meant for Hindus. Gita is meant for all people, irrespective of religion, caste, creed, race, sex, etc. It is being considered as a life manual for every human being. Friends, let me just talk to you slightly about law and dharma. Now, dharma is derived from the word dharna, which means to hold. So dharma is one which holds the society together. And it is important to note that if you read Manu Smriti, which is called as the law of Manu, you'll find that dharmas have been specified for everybody. So dharma is defined for king, dharma is defined for, every individual, a common person, for a judge, for a doctor, for a teacher, for husband, for wife, for son, for daughter, for everybody, the dharma has been defined. Friends, our ancient society was not the right-based society as we have today. It was a duty-based society. And of course, when we performed our duties in accordance with our dharma, then obviously the rights of other persons, they already got protected. So the rights were not required to be specified as such. By performing your duties in accordance with dharma, you are protecting the rights of other persons. Lord Krishna says in chapter 3 that the duties of human beings are described in the Vedas, and the Vedas are manifested by God himself. And then in verse 22, again he says, there is no duty for me to do in all the three worlds, O Parth, nor do I have anything to gain or attain, yet I am engaged in my prescribed duties. So now see, if the duties were there for even the Lord of universe also, for the Supreme God had, he was also performing his duties. Now, this is how we protect the human rights, when we perform our duties in accordance with the dharmas. Now, if I just connect Gita with jurisprudence, uh, in verse 20 of chapter 3, Krishna says that by performing their prescribed duties, King Janak and others attained perfection. So you should also perform your duties to set an example for the good of the world. Now, Krishna is using a word, lok sangraha, in the verse. Lok sangraha means the good of the world, the welfare of the people. Now, if I ask you welfare of the people, welfare of the masses, can you tell me which theory of, of the jurisprudence comes closer to it? It's the Bentham's theory of utilitarian, right? Utilitarianism, which talks about maximum happiness for the greatest number of people. But Bentham's theory is faulting here, Lok Sangraha is meant for everybody. It's not about for greatest number of people. So nobody is to be left out. Fine. Then in verse 21, again, Krishna says, whatever actions great persons perform, common people follow. Whatever standards they set, all the world will pursue that. Right? Now, this is what? Now, if the great people are performing certain actions, the others are following them. So that becomes a custom later on. That practice ultimately transforms into a custom. And when it becomes a custom, it becomes a source of law, right? Now, if I ask you to connect it to jurisprudence, which school comes closer to it? The historical school of law, right? And what von Savigny had stated, he said the law cannot be codified. Professor Devendra was talking about the codification of, about our constitution, that a part has been taken from there or part has been taken from there, though he was not agreeing to that. But the fact of that, the von Savigny had delayed the codification of the constitution for quite some time. So long, he was proposing his theory, and thereafter his disciple Pushta came out with Vakchistra concept, the spirit of people. So they were of the opinion that law cannot be enacted. Law is to be found in the society. Law is to be found in the people, how the people behave. So this is how the verse of Gita, the underlying philosophy of Gita could be found in the historical school of jurisprudence. Similarly, when we talk about the Kelsen pure theory of law, when he talks about the grand norm, now, if we look grand norm from the perspective of Gita, then it is dharma. Dharma from where no derogation is allowed, right? So if there are duties as per your dharma, you have to perform them. Now, friends, there comes a question. Can there be a dispute-free society? We are all, law students or law teachers, right? So if I ask you this question, can there be a dispute-free society in the world? The answer is no, it can never. And interestingly, the Krishna had stated a verse in chapter 10, verse 32, where Krishna says, "O Arjuna, of created things, I am the beginning and the end and also the middle. Of all sciences, I am the science of the self. And in disputation, I am the reason." In disputation, even Krishna had also acknowledged the fact that disputes are bound to happen in any society. So there cannot be a dispute-free society. So therefore, what is important is to have a robust justice delivery system, which is sine qua non for the orderly development of a society. Friends, the indigenous justice delivery system was based on the principle Jato Dharmastato Jaya. Jahan dharma hai, wahi vijay hai. Right? So where there is dharma, in fact, there is no English word which can define dharma. The closest which can come to dharma is the righteousness, not the religion, righteousness. Fine. So where there is dharma, there is victory. Now this yato dharmastato jaya, that is not the complete verse. The complete verse has been stated in Mahabharata. It says, yate karsnastato dharmo, yato dharmastato jaya. This means that victory always remains the side of dharma, and where there is Krishna, there is dharma. So where there is Krishna, there is dharma. Where there is dharma, there is victory. Right. So what the Supreme Court had done? Supreme Court had taken the last three words of this particular word, yato dharmastato jaya, which you can find in the logo of the Supreme Court also. Now, friends, I'll just tell you how these disputes were being decided in the ancient India. Of course, mediation happened to be the most prominent way of, resolving the dispute. Of course, the arbiters, as Professor Devendra talked about the Panch Parmeshwar, Munshi Premchand had also written a story on that. So Panch came later, first everything would be decided in accordance with mediation. So friends, if you look at mediation, go to Treta Yuga. There was mediation by Angad between Ram and Ravana. Go to Dwapar Yuga later on. There was mediation by Lord Krishna between Kauravas and Pandavas. Again in Dwapar Yuga, there was mediation by Brahma between Shiva and Krishna in Harihar war. If you happen to visit Tejpur in Assam, you'll find the entire, there is a ground where it has been picturized. The entire incident had been picturized very beautifully. That is called as Harihar Yudh. And of course, then Kal Yuga, the mediation between Ram Janmabhoomi and the Babri Masjid case. Interestingly, all the mediations failed except for the Harihar Yudh, where already a lot of people died from both the sides. Well, but the thing was very important that a message was given that mediation had a lot of potential. So Rashmi madam was talking about a poetry, excerpt of poetry from Ramdhari Singh Dinkar's, collection of poetry. So Ramdhari Singh Dinkar has also written about the mediation which the Krishna had done. That is called as Rashmi Rati Part 3, Krishna ki चेतावनी, मैत्री की राह दिखाने को, सबको सुमार्ग पे लाने को, दुर्योधन को समझाने को, भीषण विध्वंस बचाने को, भगवान हस्तिनापुर आए, पांडव का संदेशा लाए. दो न्याय यदि तो आधा दो. Now, those who are teaching mediation, I'm just telling this is the best example. Do nyay yadi to adha do. That means you keep Hastinapur and return, Indraprastha to Pandavas. Do nyay yadi to adha do, par usme bhi yadi bada ho to de do keval 5 gram. See, first part is mediation and second is conciliation. The best way of exemplifying the distinction between mediation and conciliation. दो न्याय यदि तो आधा दो, पर उसमें भी यदि बाधा हो तो दे दो केवल 5 ग्राम, रखो अपनी धरती तमाम. पर दुर्योधन वह भी दे न सका, आशीष समाज की ले न सका, उल्टे हरि को बांधने चला, जो था असाध्य साधने चला. जब नाश मनुष्य का आता है, पहले विवेक मर जाता है. So that is the best one. You must read that. You will be surprised that in chapter 6 of Gita, verse 9, talks about mediation. Krishna had referred mediator in the verse where he says, one who looks upon well-wishers, friends, enemies, the neutral, madhyast, that is mediator. Madhyast, envious relatives, saintly persons, and sinners with equal mind is the most exalted. Right? So look at the importance of the mediator in the ancient time. And, some of you might have done the 40 hours mediation training program, right? So there, of course, the trainers are teaching you, telling you the qualities of the mediation. So it is a practical program of 40 hours training. There are two things which the trainers are telling you about. Number one, Batna, and number two, Vatna. Batna means the best alternative to a negotiated agreement, and Vatna is the worst alternative to a negotiated agreement. Here is the agreement. If you agree, this is what is going to happen for you. You can settle it, you can become friend, you can have business, and everything can settle down, perfectly. But if you do not agree to it, what is going to be the worst part for you? You may have to go to court. You may have to pay the fee to the advocates. The case may go on for years together. By the time it is finally decided, you may be there in the world, or you might have departed from the world. Nobody knows. So the best part and the worst part are being told by the mediator to the parties. And then the decision is left to them whether they would like to go with the best or with the worst. Now, similar thing the Krishna had done when he was just trying to console and motivate Arjuna. He said, you need to fight this war. This is a dharma yudh. And if you win, of course, you are going to rule the earth. If you die, you will come to me. That is, you will get the salvation, right? So this is the best part. The worst is, if you will not fight this war, the people will criticize you. They will call you coward, and of course they'll say that this man had run away from the battlefield. And for a person like you, that would be worse than the death punishment itself. So this is the best example of Bhatna and Vatna that we can find in Gita. And then Krishna in chapter 18, the last chapter, Krishna says, I have told you everything. You take a decision of your own. So this is what the mediator does. Mediator does not impose his decision. He will tell the best and the worst part. Madam Komal was talking to me that she delivered a lecture on Krishna as a criminologist, I just tried to look the relationship of Gita and crime. So in the elements of the crime, when we talk about the mens rea and actus rea. Now, there are two verses where you will find everything, all elements of mens rea in these two. It says, chapter 2, verse 62 and 63. While contemplating on the objects of senses, one develops attachment to them. Attachment leads to desire, and desire arises anger. Anger leads to clouding of judgment, which results in the bewilderment of memory. When memory is bewildered, the intellect gets destroyed. And when the intellect is destroyed, one is ruined. So if I put them together, first of all, you start contemplating about some material object. Then you have an attachment, जिसे मोह कहते हैं. Then there is a desire. फिर आपकी इच्छा होने लगती है to get that. जब वो इच्छा पूरी नहीं होती, then you get anger. When you get anger, then it results into clouding of judgment. आप ठीक से judgment लेने के लायक नहीं रहते. It thereafter happens into bewilderment of memories. आपकी बुद्धि पूरी तरह भ्रष्ट हो गई है, which again goes to the destruction of your intellect. जो दिमाग आप में बचा था और जो कहता ना कि अच्छा और बुरा सोचने की शक्ति, everything goes destroyed. And when it happens, then you commit crime. So all these are essentials to prove mens rea, and commission of crime is the actus rea. So if you have to see the law, you have to see Gita from the perspective of law of crime, you'll find the mens rea and actus rea here only. Krishna says that there are three types of action. I'll just quickly finish it. One is karma, vikarma, akarma. These are three actions. Karma, which are, recommended by scriptures, which regulate the senses and purify the mind. Vikarma, which are inauspicious, actions which are prohibited by scriptures. We can call them crime. It can result into sin also. Inaction, akarma, these are those, actions which we do without attachment to the result, and it is for the pleasure of the God. Friends, very quickly again, when I say that Krishna says that in verse 21 of chapter 3, whatever action great persons perform people follow whatever standards they set, all the world pursue. I was there in Delhi University. We were having a program on Gita, the relevance of Gita in the Indian legal system. And uh, the Justice Sahi, who is the chairperson of National Consumer Protection Act, he had connected it very wisely. He said, look at Article 141 of the Constitution. Precedence, the law laid down by Supreme Court becomes a binding law on all high courts. So, when we say what the great persons perform, so whatever the Supreme Court had decided, this has to be followed by all people, and it becomes the law of the land. So this is how we can link it to the precedence also. So similarly, friends, because the time is less, and in fact, I have connected it with many other branches also. So finally, to conclude, I would say that all of us are subject to two laws. One, the law of the land. Other one, the divine law. We are subjected to law of the land till our existence. After our death, we are subject to the divine law. So if you commit a crime and you do not get punishment for that, you are not arrested, fine. But do not think, that the God is, just keep in mind that the God is there. You are subjected to that divine law. And there we have the divine system where there is no infrastructure like we have in the court. There is only one judge, that is the God himself. There is divine procedure. Even the law of natural justice does not prevail there. Remember that. Nobody is going to argue your case there, and you won't get the opportunity to present your case because the Krishna is aware as to what have you done in your life. And finally, it happens into divine justice. And that divine justice decides what is going to be your next birth. Whether you are going to take birth as a human being or as an animal or a good person or a bad person, or whether you will be a part of nature, or what are you going to happen, that will be decided based upon your karmas. With this, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. And I'm extremely sorry for exceeding time. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It is a rare privilege to introduce a leader who has worn two hats with equal distinction, that of a steel frame administrator and that of a visionary statesman. We are honored to welcome R.K. Singh sir, an eminent administrator, parliamentarian, and former union minister. 1975 batch IAS officer of the Bihar cadre, sir has served in several key administrative positions, including as the Home Secretary of State. A politician who acts like a civil servant, and a patron whose life has been a masterclass in integrity, execution, and nation building. I request sir to kindly deliver the key address. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. In brief, I first joined the Indian Administrative Service. Thereafter, I contested elections, became a member of parliament, and became a minister. I was a minister for about 7 odd years, handling both conventional power and new and renewable energy. The solar revolution, I joined in 17, and at that time, the solar revolution had not taken off. I mean, our solar capacity was very limited. But when I left in 2024, I think we were one of the bigger powers as far as renewable energy is concerned. And our renewable energy portfolio is growing faster and faster. Now we are one of the biggest capacities in the world. Now coming to today's topic. First of all, I would like to congratulate all those who selected the topic. intersections of traditional knowledge system and the future, law, culture, sustainability, and collective well-being. So, Honorable Justice Bhavar Singh Ji, Mr. Ahuja, Mr. Devendra Singh Ji, and other dignitaries on the dais, the teachers, the students. Now, I would like to, uh, to focus on what this topic actually wants us to cover. It wants us to cover the intersection between the traditional knowledge systems and the future. It also wants us to cover the aspects of law, culture, and sustainability and collective well-being in the background of this traditional knowledge systems, the future, and how we look at law, culture, sustainability, and collective well-being. Now, as Justice Bhavar Singh said, we have had a rich and glorious past. We have had one of the oldest civilizations in the world. The Indus Valley civilization started somewhere around 7000 BC. And it was a civilization which had well-planned towns, wide roads, drainage. It had the system of writing. It had a script which has not been deciphered as yet. We have the oldest universities in the world. Way before the world even thought about having a university, we had Nalanda, we had Takshila. And so we have a huge fund of traditional knowledge, some of which still exists, some of which we still use, and some of which we are even now discovering the benefits of. Our traditional knowledge systems, if you look at the health systems, Ayurveda was mentioned, yoga was mentioned. You look at our culture, and you look at what our culture has given us, our family system, the joint family system. Now, all these are assets, and we are rightly proud of our traditional systems, of our traditional knowledge, etc. But there are two things which you need to keep in mind. We need to look at the whole thing holistically. Now, traditional knowledge is good by itself. Ayurveda is good by itself. But that has to be, if we want to carry it forward, that has to be married with the current scientific systems, knowledge, and it has to meet the current future, the present systems. If we do not do that, presently what is Ayurveda? And this is something which I raised in the cabinet. You have systems coming down from us. You need to actually put it through a testing system. Now and then you need to have a certification system so that people have faith. You need to do these things. That means the traditional knowledge has to be married with the present scientific rigor. Similarly, yoga. We have yoga systems. It's great. But you need to, again, standardize it. You need to study it. You need to identify what the benefits of yoga are. And we need to put it in a text so that you make yoga scientific. Now, these are things which we are not doing. I mean, these are things which we need to do. Now, if we come to our culture. Now, our culture, we believe that our cultural heritage is something which we need to be proud of, which we can be proud of. Our joint family system was something which built, which made for stability. And it has to be married with the present scientific knowledge. And we need to have a certification system so that people have faith. You need to, again, standardize it. You need to put it in a text so that you make yoga scientific. Now, these are things which we are not doing. I mean, these are things which we need to do. Now, if we come to our culture. Now, our culture, we believe that our cultural heritage is something which we need to be proud of, which we can be proud of. Our joint family system was something It provided social security to our parents, to the old people, etc. And that led to healthier individuals as far as psychological makeup is concerned. What is happening is that, with the onset of the Western culture, Western civilization is breaking down our joint family system. In fact, our joint family system is disappearing very quickly. And that is something which is not healthy. That is something which is leading to, you have unitary families, husband, wife, children. The old people are not cared for. We are mirroring the Western system where the old people are put in old age homes. The children ring up their parents maybe once in 6 months or something and ask them how they are. So just, the West will give you an idea of where we are headed. And where we are headed is a breakdown of the family system, which means a breakdown of the social security system for the parents, for the aged, which means a breakdown of the collective unity, which even took care of people who did not have jobs. And it's proceeding further. The breakdown of our joint family system is now leading to later marriages. The institution of marriage is also under attack. Now you have living systems. And those living systems are being recognized. They're being recognized by law also. That I'll come to. What our law is, what our law should be, and how our law should develop. Now, some aspects of this has been covered, but I think it needs more attention. Now, the result of that is, lack of family systems, living systems. The result of all this is that our population will decline as the population of the West has declined. It will continue declining, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is a future which is facing us. You look to the West, you will see your future, because we are aping the West. We are copying the West, moving away from our traditional systems. Now, here again, and in all these, there's an intersection of law, in culture, in the way we live, in the systems, in health. There's the intersection of law in all this. I'll come to that later. I mentioned the health systems and the need for certification of Ayurvedic medicines, of manufacturing of Ayurvedic medicines, the need for documentation of the effects, counter effects, side effects. It's not being done. The law provides for it. Now, that law has to be extended to Ayurveda as well. Similarly, you look at, I'll keep at it. Similarly, you look at the intersection of family and law. Now, our law lays down specifically the framework of marriage, of relations outside marriage, adultery. Right? Now, that is being changed by a catenary of Supreme Court judgments. That framework of marriage is being challenged by Supreme Court judgments. Now, somebody will say that this is the evolution of law to mirror the current social reality. But is that what law should be doing? Is that how law should evolve? Now, the law is evolving, has to evolve. It has to evolve to accommodate present realities, and at the same time accommodate a wider understanding about human rights, about liberty. Now, this understanding is recent. It was not there in our traditional society. In our traditional society, you had the caste system, which put some castes below other castes.
some groups of people below other groups of people. Now that was understanding them. You see, somehow or the other, we have got into the habit of saying that our past is great, our past was golden, and it was Satyug and all that. Now that is a habit we need to get out of. Our past had many benefits. The past was great, yes, but it also had evils. It also had faults. Not all of our past has been great. I mean, the caste system was not great. Untouchability was not great. The sati system was not great. Now, all these were reformed, and they were reformed by what? By law. Now, my esteemed colleague Devinder Singh mentioned about the conflict between law and custom. It will happen because when custom is something which violates the concept of human dignity, of human rights, which are inborn. I believe that every human being has inborn rights, freedom. It's his birthright, inborn right. They're not given by somebody. It is our own intrinsic rights. Equality, fraternity. All these are, these were articulated during the French Revolution. They are as relevant today. Liberty, equality, fraternity, they are as relevant today, and they are our intrinsic rights. So when the law did away with sati, it was great, and it needs to be followed. When the law did away with the caste system, it was great, and it needs to be followed. And any shelter behind customs, etc., will need to be done away with, because that custom is obscurantist. The Sabrimala thing was mentioned. I am talking about this. The conflict between the traditional systems, traditional beliefs, and the law, and the evolution of the law. Now, Sabrimala was mentioned. Now, Sabrimala, the observations which I keep hearing from the bench, the learned bench of the lordships, they seem to be frankly obscurantist. Now, if you talk about, how the systems laid down for worship, etc., are concerned, that they are inviolate because they mirror belief, or that they are somehow handed down by God, and therefore they need to be respected. Now, I have a question with that. Now, who decided what God has handed down? And who did God communicate with? Now, so you say that a particular category of persons will not be allowed into the temple, right? For example, you said that ladies will not be allowed into the temple between the ages of 10 and 50. Now, you extend that. But the same logic, you can say that scheduled caste people should not be allowed into Sabrimala. Now, you are impinging on individual rights. But the honorable judges, the way they are going, it seems that they are going back into the past. The judgment which opened up Sabrimala was great. And that is the judgment which needs to be adhered to. So where are we going? We cannot go back into a past, which is obscurantist, which is unfair. So we need to keep that in mind. The law evolves, the law reforms, and that is, that's what should happen. But how will that reform be? What will be the basis of that reform? The basis will have to be this belief in our principles of equality, freedom, the dignity of the individual, fraternity. Now, these are the principles which need to, inform every evolution of law. And so when the Dowry Act was done away, I'm sorry to differ with you, Devinderji, but when the Dowry Act was done away, it was great. And when, the inheritance was given to the ladies, to my mothers and sisters, it was great. And we need to make that happen, instead of trying to pass on guilt to our mothers and sisters when they claim their share in property. Equality has to be enforced. That is something which is the future. And again, we formed the Ministry of Ayush because we wanted to take Ayurveda forward. But if you want to take Ayurveda forward, then the way to do it is to actually test every medicine, every Ayurvedic medicine. See what its effects are. Does it actually cure a particular disease it claims to? Record it. That's what's laid down in law. So follow the law. record it. And then after that, make sure that the manufacturing of the Ayurvedic medicine is done according to a laid down standard procedure, and only certify that medicine which is manufactured according to that. Now, culture, of course, I covered marriage, live-in, etc. Again, evolving, changing law to suit the present sort of, cultural modes cannot be a blind process. If the culture, if our society is proceeding in a wrong direction, which will not be conducive to the collective well-being, then I think you need to change it and make sure that you stand by what was right in our traditional knowledge systems, what was right in our culture. Now, as I said, law has to be reformatory. Law has to evolve with the society, yes. And that evolution has always, that evolving with the society has always to be tested through the framework of essential human rights. And that is the only way which will make sure that we achieve a society which is free, which is equal, which gives dignity to every person. That has to be the final objective of any legal system. We also heard about the link between law and religion. Now let's look at that. In fact, my take on that is somewhat different. What is religion, and how did religion come about? And what is law, and how did law come about? Now, religion came before law. What was religion? Religion was a set of practices, apart, of course, from faith in God, a set of practices, a set of laws which were necessary for keeping a body of people together. If you have a body of people living together, you need certain do's and you need certain don'ts. Otherwise, that body will not keep together. That society will not cohere, will not be able to live together. In order to be able to live together, you have to follow some laws. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not lie. Now, all these are essential frameworks for the functioning of any society. Now, before you had this concept of law and the sovereign, you had the concept of God. And so, the people who organized the societies, who could think, they laid out this as a part of, as laws given down by the Almighty. Because at that time, you didn't have any the sovereign. Or if you had chiefs, the chiefs did not lay down the law. So those who understood things, they said that these are aspects, these are rules which are required for the society to cohere, for the society to stay together. These rules. And that was what was written down in religion. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal. The 10 Commandments. Now that was the origin of law. And then the sanction, of course, was provided, after you die. For example, suppose you kill somebody or steal something, then after you die, you will be punished in heaven. Now then, thereafter, people realized that that was that was not enough of a disincentive, because when he dies and when he goes to heaven, who will know whether he's got punished or not, or whether when he takes another birth, whether he'll be born as an animal or not, who knows? So it will be better to mete out the punishment there and then. So then we had law and sanctions and punishment here on the ground. Not waiting for somebody to die or take another birth. But I believe in God. I mean, no doubt about it. And if there is a rebirth, I'll be all for it. I'm not certain that there is a system of rebirth, but I'll be all for it. Of course, if there's a system of rebirth, I can tell you one thing, that at least 70-80% of the politicians will be reborn as animals. So that apart, because the type of people who join politics nowadays, actually the people who that the type of people who join politics nowadays is not the time when I joined service. That was, I mean, the politicians were educated. Most of them were honest. Now today, the people who can't do anything else, they join politics. They become contractors and then they join politics, or they become chamchas of minister, join politics. People who could not do anything else. Now that's a tragedy. That's a tragedy. And that tragedy happens because all of you who are doing something else or who are capable of doing something else do not join politics. Now that's what we thought when that's what our thinking was when we were district magistrates and commissioners. We looked around and saw the politician and we said that, look, I mean, uneducated people are there. So then we realized that actually uneducated people are there, or gundas are there, because we are not coming into politics. So I maybe can keep that in mind. And that was one of the reasons why I actually joined politics after retirement. So as far as religion and law, coming back to the topic, as far as our religion and law is concerned, there's actually a continuum. Law given by our country, by our sovereign, is a continuum of the law given by God. The only thing is that the law which is given by our sovereign evolves. The law given by God does not evolve. So therefore, we need to keep that in mind and make sure that our law evolves in order to ensure the collective well-being of the society, which is the overall the end objective of all our endeavors, the collective well-being of our society. Now keep this in mind. Keep this in mind whenever you are arguing a case before a judge. And I hope that the honorable counsels who are arguing before the honorable lords justices of the Supreme Court, keep that in the Sabrimala case, keep that in mind. That basically, if you start regressing, you start restricting entry, whose entry will you restrict? I mean, you'll go down to actually again restricting the entry of scheduled caste people, saying that they're unclean. What nonsense. So I'm sorry to say. It's not contemptuous. It is, yeah, it borders on the contemptuous. But remember one thing, and this is something which was said, by wise people long time back. Continuous vigilance is the price of liberty. If you do not fight for your liberty continuously, if you are not alert in protecting your liberty, you lose it. And the danger of totalitarianism is never far away. Even democratic governments become totalitarian. Always remember that, always be aware of that, and protect your rights and protect your freedoms. They need protection even now. I mean, despite the fact that, all our, despite our learned people in the judiciary, this fight is going on even now. Look at the provisions of the PMLA and the provision of bail in the PMLA. Now, what surprises me is that even when this was tested before the Supreme Court, they allowed it to remain. You know what the provision of bail in the PMLA is? That once somebody arrests you, you cannot get bail unless the judge is convinced that you are innocent. Now, can you imagine a more ridiculous proposition of law? It's so ridiculous, prima facie ridiculous, and yet it was allowed to remain. There's a review pending. Why is it ridiculous? Tell me. I'll tell you why it's ridiculous. Because the basic tenet of liberty is that a person is innocent till proved guilty, isn't it? Now, when is a person proved guilty? After the evidence has been examined. That means after trial. because the evidence is examined during the trial. Now here, you are asking the judge to make up his mind even before the witnesses have been placed before him, whether a person is guilty or not. And if the judge has not been able to cannot make up his mind, then he'll do what? I mean, this fellow will be condemned to remain in jail till the trial is over, and he may be innocent. Most likely he'll be innocent. Most likely he'll be innocent, looking at what has happened in the recent cases. So these are things which I think, and do not, again, there's another thing which I want to tell you. Do not leave the fight for your liberty to anybody else. You also have to stand up and fight. Don't think that only the opposition is responsible for standing up and fighting for your liberties. You are all responsible for standing up and fighting for your liberties. So our past has been great, but it needs reform. The sum of human knowledge will always keep expanding. It's natural. We started worshipping the moon. I remember. My mother used to worship the moon. Today we land on the moon. So the sum of human knowledge will keep expanding. And Homo sapiens have one particular advantage over all other sentient beings. And that is that we can record our experience for posterity. And that's why our sum total of knowledge keeps expanding. It will expand. That's the future. And we just need to make sure that it expands it's used for, again, the last phrase in your topic, collective well-being of all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for those inspiring words. We now move forward to a significant moment in today's proceeding, the formal launch of the book titled The Contours of Justice and Public Health, Intersections of Law, Rights, and Policies by the DME Law School. This important work is the outcome of the international conference organized in 2025 and was published to the Bloomsbury International. I request the dignitaries to kindly unveil the book. I also request Professor Dr. Rajinder Kaur Randhawa ma'am and the conveners of the international conference, Ms. Mansi ma'am and Ms. Piritpia ma'am, to please join the dignitaries. As we near the conclusion of the inaugural event, it is now my pleasure to invite Professor Dr. Komal Vij ma'am, Director DME Law School, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Respected dignitaries, distinguished guests, esteemed academicians, members of the legal fraternity, faculty members, researchers, students, ladies and gentlemen. It is my proud privilege on behalf of Delhi Metropolitan Education Noida to propose the vote of thanks for this enriching, and intellectually stimulating inaugural session of our international conference. At the outset, I express our deepest gratitude to Shri R.K. Singh Ji, former Union Cabinet Minister of Power, Government of India, for delivering the keynote address. His vast experience in governance and public policy, coupled with his powerful observations on national development, offered invaluable learning to all present here. Our deepest gratitude to Honorable Mr. Justice Bhavar Singh Ji, Director General DME, and former Judge Allahabad High Court for his inspiring welcome address. His words of wisdom, drawn from the vast judicial experience and deep commitment to legal education, set a visionary tone for the conference and reminded us of the transformative role of law in shaping an equitable society. Our sincere appreciation goes to Professor Dr. V.K. Ahuja, Director, Indian Law Institute, whose distinguished presence greatly enriched this gathering. His scholarly insights and observations on Bhagavad Gita have provided meaningful direction for students, scholars, and practitioners alike. I extend heartfelt thanks to Professor Dr. Devinder Singh, Vice Chancellor, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar National Law University, Sonipat, for sharing his profound perspective on the evolving landscape of legal systems, justice delivery, and contemporary societal issues. His address was both thought-provoking and inspiring. We are sincerely grateful to Professor Dr. Rashmi Nagpal, Associate Dean, School of Law, NIMS, Chandigarh, and former Associate Director, DME, for her insightful address. Her reflections on contemporary legal education and emerging dimensions of IKS added immense value to the deliberations of the day. I also take this opportunity to thank all participants, delegates, paper presenters, researchers, faculty members, industry experts, and students from various institutions and countries for their enthusiastic participation and scholarly contributions in the days to come. Your presence has truly made this conference vibrant and meaningful. My sincere appreciation goes to the organizing committee, Ms. Beth Priya, and other faculty coordinators, student volunteers, technical team, and support staff whose tireless efforts ensured the successful conduct of this conference. As we move ahead with the technical sessions and the academic deliberations, I'm confident that this conference will foster meaningful dialogue, collaborative research, and innovative ideas that will contribute significantly to the field of law and public policy. Once again, I thank each one of you for your gracious presence and valuable contributions. Thank you and have a wonderful and productive conference ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. To formally conclude the inaugural ceremony, let us all rise for the national anthem.
जन गण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल गंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे